It is Jobs Report Friday, which means it's time for us to check in on Maria Bartiromo over on Fox Business.
The number is out. We want to get the details on this number.
This is something, Maria. This is something. 272,000.
Nancy Lazar was right. She was right.
She was right.
272,000. Everybody, the estimate was 185,000. And by the way, that blows even the top of the range from economists going in. The range was 120 to 258, and we came in at 272. The unemployment rate hit 4%. The estimate was 3.9%. So this is something else.
Once again, another incredible jobs report, which of course means once again, Maria Bartiromo has to try to find something wrong.
Well, you know what number I don't like, Charles, is this wages. The wages, average hourly earnings up 4.1%. That points to inflation, Charles, a couple of days before we get the CPI on Wednesday.
Here's the thing. Even that number is actually pretty good. Those wage gains are actually outpacing the latest inflation data. Not only that, prime age labor force participation, folks aged 25 to 54, is the highest it's been in more than 2 decades. And of course, today's job numbers, as you heard from our friends over at Fox Business, exceeded everyone's expectations. The economy under Joe Biden, in macroeconomic terms, is literally the best economy I've seen in my lifetime. So why is it not seeming to register with voters? Joining me here at the table to talk about that, among other things, Congressman Maxwell Frost, Democrat of Florida, who serves on the 2024 Biden campaign National Advisory Board. What's your read on the state of the economy?
Well, the numbers don't lie, right? Things are great. And the president is really landing this, especially post-pandemic. I think that the folks who aren't feeling it, which is very valid, folks are thinking about the high prices of things. And that doesn't really have to do with the president as much as to do with corporate greed and these monopolies we've seen. And the president understands that. That's why he's doing stuff on junk fees. That's why the FTC is one of the most aggressive FTCs we've seen under Chair Lina Khan. They're doing good work and good antitrust work. President Trump, he believed that giving handouts to billionaires was the way to help working families, and President Biden knows that that's not it. Resources to working families is what's going to help us here.
You know, one of the things I think, and just to zoom in on the jobs, let's show the Trump versus Biden jobs, which is really remarkable. Jobs created per year since 2017. Trump versus Biden, 2.1 million in the first year, loses 9.27 in 2020, of course, of the pandemic. Joe Biden comes back, gains a huge number of jobs, 7.25, and then after that, a very, very strong growth. So you see that sort of huge difference between the two. But even if you just say, OK, fine, take out the pandemic, take out 2020, take out 2021. That was the pandemic and the recovery. You still have the Joe Biden presidency outpacing Donald Trump in job creation.
Yep.
On the point of costs, it seems to me part of the issue, too, is that housing costs, which are a huge issue for folks, those are not really being driven by the president's policy. They're being driven by local policy in the Fed.
Exactly.
And so people feel that. Maybe they think Biden's responsible, but it's not coming from him.
No, exactly. And this is part of the reason the president's been focusing a lot on junk fees and figuring out how are we going to help renters? How are we going to help people buy and accumulate wealth by housing? I have a bill, the End Junk Fees for Renters Act, which works at banning junk fees. Once a junk fee, something your landlord has to provide for you that they're charging extra for you. I mean, I just moved into a place recently, and
you were having a hard time last time I talked. When you moved to Washington, you were having a hard time finding a place to rent.
Credit scores, which my bill also works at banning credit scores.
How were your credit scores?
Not good, because during the campaign, I was Ubering to make ends meet, running up credit card debt, having a hard time paying it back because I couldn't make that money because I was also running for Congress. Yeah. And this is an issue that so many Americans face. And the fact of the matter is, during COVID and during those Trump policies, the marketplace and our power as consumers in the marketplace went down by a lot. And so President Biden is working at fixing that wrong. But corporate greed is really what's driving this right now.
One of the things that we're seeing in your state particularly on high costs, which has been a story I've been following. I'm just curious how much this is affecting folks in your district. is insurance, homeowners insurance, particularly in the state of Florida, and we're seeing it in Texas and to a certain amount in California. There's a bunch of different reasons for that, climate being a huge part of it. What are you hearing about people in Florida about that? Do you hear folks talk about
yeah. This is one of the top issues I hear about, especially when I go out and knock doors. And I actually just had a roundtable with folks. And a lot of people have kind of a caricature of who this impacts, but it impacts everybody under the sun. I had senior citizens on a fixed income saying, I think I'm going to have to move out of my house I've been in for 50 years.
Because the premiums getting jacked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because they've paid off their mortgage, right? So they don't have variable costs anymore.
Exactly.
They've got property taxes, and then they've got the insurance. So if that keeps going up.
Yeah, it's pricing people out. It's also working families and also young people who are trying to build wealth and buy. They can't even do it right now in the state of Florida. And the governor isn't doing anything about it. In fact, he had a special session, and many people, including myself, believe that the bill they passed actually made it worse, because for him, it's not about corporate greed or we shouldn't be regulating the reinsurance market. For him, he says that we're in this problem because of people who abuse the system.
Yes,
less than 1% of people.
Well, it's very interesting because basically the insurance industry down there says, no, it's not really climate and it's not storms. It's fraudsters who are abusing us. And they called that special session. Yeah. I've seen other experts who say that's not going to get it done.
It's not going to get it done. We need regulation. We need to look at the actual problem. But here's the thing. When you elect someone like Ron DeSantis, who does the biddings of corporations and billionaires, of course he's not going to pass anything to regulate it and actually help working families. And so this is a huge failure of Republican leadership in the state of Florida. And that's what happens when you elect someone like Ron DeSantis.
You represent a district in a state that is very exposed to climate risk, obviously. Yep. The National Weather Service has put out this warning basically saying, look, the Atlantic's the hottest it's ever been.
Yep.
We're looking at possibly projecting a record number of named storms coming over the summer and into the fall and hurricane season. Is that setting, I'm curious how much that news, I know I follow this stuff, in a place like Florida, in your district, is that setting into people? Are they looking towards this summer knowing that?
It is setting into people. You know what's interesting? I've had folks who are conservatives reach out to me and said, you know what, before a few years ago, I didn't really care much about the climate change issue, but now it's impacting my day-to-day or it's impacting my business. The water surrounding Florida is the temperature of a hot tub. Hot water fuels these hurricanes.
It's like 84 off Miami. Yeah, it's wild.
Right. It fuels these storms. It makes them last longer and create more destruction. And in fact, 2 years ago, we had Hurricane Irma. I was out knocking doors a few months ago in a community called Orla Vista, which is in Central Florida. A lot of these folks are still living in sheds behind their house because the flooding was so much that it completely ruined their house. Still, and the insurance companies are denying a lot of their claims. They're playing this game where they're saying, well, it wasn't the flooding, it was the wind. Or no, it wasn't the wind, it was the flooding. And this is the issue we have in the state of Florida. So we need real leadership from our state government because this hurricane season, and hopefully everybody's wrong, but they're saying it's going to be one of the worst that we've had.
All right, Congressman Maxwell Alejandro Frost, thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.